So I've got this pork tenderloin, except here they call it filet mignon de pork. I want to do a sous vide dry rub that can be finished in the camping car on the grill. Here are my basic ingredients. Salt is your number one ingredient. I'm using the pink Himalayan salt, but you can use a normal salt. It needs to be a finer grind than this for a dry rub though. So this will have to be ground. I have a dry rub that I already made that I think is too salty for sous vide. So I'm not going to add any salt. I'm just going to add the rest of the ingredients. So here's what I'm going to use. I need smoked paprika, strong paprika, spicy paprika, cumin, black pepper. I'm going to use some ground mustard, and I'm going to grind some mustard seed as well, just for a little depth of flavor. Thyme, oregano, granulated garlic, ground coriander, dried onion, dried shallots, which if you can't find dried shallots, you don't have to use them. Just double down on the onion. I'm going to use some sugar. An American equivalent of this would be turbinado sugar, but you could use just table sugar if you needed to. Celery salt, cayenne pepper, and there's my last dry rub, which I'm going to dilute to cut down on the salt. So I'll start by grinding my whole spices. So my cumin needs to be ground. So I want exactly 2 teaspoons of that. My mustard seed needs to be ground. 1 teaspoon of that. My thyme, I prefer if that was ground. I hate these little things on the spice jar. So a heaping teaspoon of thyme. My coriander. Two teaspoons of that. I could grind this onion's a little big, so I think I'll grind some of that as well. A scant teaspoon. And my shallots, my dried shallots, a scant teaspoon. I have kind of a dedicated spice grinder, but you could use a coffee mill, just not the same mill that you grind coffee with. All right, I can dump this in my mixing bowl. That's a pretty nice looking grind. It's really important to get smoked paprika in here. So I want kind of a lot, because my smoked paprika is going to give me that feeling of that sensation of having some smoked flavor, because it's not going to spend too much time on the grill, and I'm really trying to make barbecue. Here's my strong paprika, spicy paprika, which here in France isn't that spicy. About a teaspoon of that, and I probably had 3.5, 4 teaspoons of the smoked paprika. A lot of people leave mustard out of their dry rub, and I think that's a mistake. I really love the flavor of mustard. So a heaping teaspoon of mustard powder. Remember, we already have a teaspoon of ground mustard as well. Oregano, this is pretty fine. Teaspoon of oregano. Granulated garlic, also a teaspoon. Sugar. Four teaspoons. Celery seed, half. Cayenne, I'm not going to put in my palm. I like a lot of heat, so I've got about 2 teaspoons of that. And again, I'm trying to weaken the one I made a few weeks ago, take some of the salt out of it, so I'm going to mix last week's dry rub in here. And I want to make sure any big chunks get broken up and well mixed into the mixture. Nice. Pretty big. And I really want to coat these. Always fold over the top of my bag and try to keep everything dry. Looks like a good seal. Now, I'm ready to go in the refrigerator 8 days. And what that's going to do for me is, especially the paprika, but all the spices are going to permeate the meat. And when I grill this and slice it, it'll look like there's a smoke ring. And it's not going to be really a smoke ring, it's going to be a spice ring, but it gives me visually the same thing as if I had cooked this slowly over a wood barbecue for 24 hours, but I'll have this ready in 10 minutes. So first step from here is to refrigerate the raw meat for 3 days. Then I will sous vide it for 12 hours at 135 degrees, 136 degrees maybe. Shock it in ice water, and then it's probably safe in the refrigerator. Wow, I almost said something really irresponsible. I may have suggested that I've sous vide meat, opened the package, put it on the grill, and eaten it after it had been in the refrigerator for 2 or 3 months. And maybe I have done that. But it's not really good advice to give you when I look up on the internet, and pretty much all the responsible recipes and the manufacturers of the sous vide devices say somewhere between 2 days and 10 days that your stuff is meat. And their point is that when you sous vide something, you're not really canning it because it's not going into a jar or a can. You're pasteurizing it because you're doing it at a low temperature for a long time. I say potato, you say potato. To me, when you buy meat, meat should be safe to eat 21 days after the time it's butchered. Now I know in the United States that sometimes 14 of those 21 days are spent going through middlemen and being trucked from one end of the country to the next. So you're kind of at a disadvantage when you buy your meat anyway. Which is why when I lived in the US, I bought most of my meat at a local butcher shop. Yeah, I paid more, but I got a better product and it was safer too. So it makes sense to me that if you buy something, and let's say it's been already 7 days since it's been butchered when you got it, and you sous vide it and preserve it that way, you have at least 2 more weeks right there before you have to eat it. So my suggestion to you is, no matter whether you're buying your meat fresh, or you're buying it at some horrible grocery store, whether you sous vide it or not, that you take a whiff of it before you cook it and eat it. Because if it's rotten, well, you should know that, and probably be better if you didn't get sick and die. Time to sous vide the pork loin. It's 9:30 at night. That works pretty well because I need 12 hours to do this. And I want to do it at 132 degrees. So the water's only 85 degrees right now. Once it reaches 132, the timer will start it. And then by the time I wake up and have my coffee and aggravate about the day, it'll be ready, and I'll talk to you again then. I'm gonna go ahead and put the meat in, make sure I have enough water in the bath. I will say one thing for this here, it's a pain to set, but it's got a lot of power. It heats really quickly. All right, the sous vide is done. Looks like a nice seal. Looks like we're still holding a vacuum there. I say this a lot, but it's really important that we shock this in ice water. Stop the cooking, get it as cold as quickly as possible. And there are several reasons for doing this. One is all of the juices that are leaked out of the meat will get reabsorbed to some extent when I shock it in ice water. And it'll pull it to an even harder vacuum, which is good. And the other thing is, bacteria really like to be kind of warm. Kind of around 100 degrees Fahrenheit is just a really dangerous place for bacteria because they'll grow really fast. They're not going to they're not going to be very happy at the temperature they are now, and they're not going to be very active when I get them back down closer to freezing. So I want to make that time happen as quickly as possible. As usual, I'm using all of the ice cubes in France. Now, if you're doing this in like the southern part of the United States, you're going to need a lot more ice than I do because your water's a lot warmer. I'm on the upper Rhine River and our water's pretty cold. And you can see that's already pulling a harder vacuum, which is really good. It means I have a good seal. And that one's not doing as well. So this one I'm going to be more concerned about. So I'm going to let it shrink down a whole bunch more and we'll see what happens. But that one I may end up having to cook today instead of saving it for a later time. Okay, I've given them a few minutes in the ice bath. Pull them out and look at it. That one looks great. This one doesn't look as good. It didn't reabsorb. I don't have a hard vacuum in there like I would have liked. It's not much of a leak because I know because the water was still clear in the sous vide water bath and it's still clear in the ice water. But this meat's not going to hold as long. And that's kind of a shame. I'm not going to be able to take it, store it, and take it camping at some later date. On the plus side, at least now I know what's for dinner. It won't taste as good because I don't have a grill at home. But I'll broil it and slice it, maybe put it on a salad or something like that. That'll make my wife happy. So this one I'll just go into the fridge with, and that'll be dinner. And this will go into my new toy. Here's my new auxiliary camping refrigerator. See, there's a bunch of sous vide meat in there. I want to make it more visually compelling, and I'm doing that by frying it in some canola oil. Now I'll just slice it and serve it with some green beans tonight. Fresh haricot vert. Oui, filet, but when we say filet mignon, we think of only beef.
Oh yeah.
We think of filet mignon only being the Chateaubriand de boeuf is
Okay.
filet mignon. Here we are. Me and Julian.
Hello.
We're brewing today. I'm not camping, but I'm still hungry. Grill is hot. The pork has been a few weeks ago. We dry rubbed it, aged it 3 days, vacuum sealed it, and sous vide'd it, and now it's time to finish it.
Need a hand?
Yes. Thank you.
Sure.
It already smells really good.
Oh wow.
We could make the sauce from that.
Oh yeah, keep the juice.
We want a proper char on this. But of course, as usual, I'm running out of gas and I'm trying to cook in the rain. So,
Nice and sunny day.
yeah. Here on the Rhine. So this is fully cooked because remember we cooked this for 12 hours in the sous vide.
Okay.
Yeah, I cooked it at 135 degrees Fahrenheit. Don't know the Celsius on that off the top of my head, but I have a chart inside the brewery to help me translate.
We need one here as well.
No, there's one here.
Oh, yeah?
Well, it has the critical brewing points for
All right.
in both, so we can get close.
Oh, well.
Of course, we all have the apps on our phones. So this is fully cooked. So all we have to do, and it's fully seasoned as well. So if it was really raining and I was trapped in my camping car, I could slice it and eat it just cold. But it's going to be so much better with a little bit of char on it.
Oh yeah. So you have a sous vide machine?
I have a wand, the immersion wand that I use. I had the sous vide machine, and a friend of mine in America is having it. Hi, Chris. I'm sure you're watching. And if it's still working, that would be amazing. But the wands are nice because they're more portable, and you can change it to the shape of anything you're cooking. So whole rib roast of cow you can do, or something small like this.
Smells good, huh?
It smells like Texas.
Barbecue.
The Frenchman's reaction to barbecue.
Ah bah oui, les Américains c'est des pros du barbecue, tu parles alors. On est rigolo avec ça. Petit truc
This is a very good tool.
alors, ça, dans l'après-midi, je sais pas comment on sort, j'ai retiré du cash, je faisais rien mais...
Ah non, mais t'inquiète, la prochaine fois.
Okay, so you see, because I left the dry rub on 3 days before I cooked it, it also, the spices cooked in a little bit and made what looks like a smoke ring, but obviously I was only on the grill for 15 or 20 minutes, so there's no actual smoke ring. But I'm gonna get kind of the same flavors as I would have if I had smoked this for 24 hours. And it's every bit as tender as well. Now, here I am brewing with a bunch of my friends in the French brewery. We're making beer, but the thing is, I have 20 times as much pepper on this one tenderloin as the average Frenchman eats in his lifetime. So they have a very delicate taste, sense of taste here. So it's a good thing we have beer handy, because probably we're going to set some Frenchmen on fire.
En même temps, c'est moi qui dis moi quart. Finalement, on est dans le
No, you won't.
And here you see me struggling with a broken ceramic knife again. I've really got to get some better knives for the camping car. Okay, you gonna try?
Yeah, sure.